Hello, my name's Emma, and today I'll be cooking the truffles from the Korea cookbook, and I'll be doing one version with Hershey's dark chocolate and one version with Ghirardelli semi-sweet chocolate. And my hypothesis is that the ones with Hershey will be less rich, and just because Ghirardelli is known to be a higher premium brand for baking, so I think that the Ghirardelli will have a better deeper flavor. And for my ingredients, I'm not doing pecans, I'm just gonna roll them in coconut flakes from Trader Joe's, and then I'm using golden eggs for my eggs, or my egg yolks. And this is the milk chocolate. I just used Hershey's milk chocolate, and this will be present in both of the batches. And now one of the batches will have Hershey's special dark chocolate, and the other one will have Ghirardelli semi-sweet chocolate. And I'm using dairy grade A heavy whipping cream from Hy-Vee, and the liqueur I'm using is Grand Marnier. It's an orange flavored liqueur. The chocolate refining process starts with the cocoa powders, and they're ground up really finely, and then a lecithin or an emulsifier like lecithin is added, but no sugar is added, and that would make really bitter chocolate. That would make unsweetened chocolate. And then how we make semi-sweet chocolate is we take those refined cacao particles, and then we add sugar and another emulsifier like vanilla to it, and the amount of sugar that's added really just depends on the processor, and this makes semi-sweet, or also known as bittersweet chocolate. And milk chocolate is has sugar, but it also has cream or dairy products added into it to make it less a lower percentage of cacao. And different chocolate, even if it's the same kind of chocolate, like different brands of semi-sweet chocolate will taste very different because of the amount of sugar that's added. Different brands will add different amounts of sugar to chocolate. Lind Couron usually puts 2 tablespoons of sugar per ounce of chocolate, whereas other, like most American chocolate companies, will use 3.5 tablespoons of sugar per ounce of chocolate. So it really just depends on the brand, and even between brands of like even between American brands, there'll be a large difference in flavor profiles due to the process that they use. And the best way to find out what chocolate that you like best is by doing a blind taste test, and using the same recipe, and using 2 different types of chocolate. So that's what we're doing today. I mean, I won't be blind tasting them, but I will give them to my family to see which one they prefer. This is the Hershey's and Hershey's mixture, or I guess just the one with the Hershey's dark chocolate, and I've just chopped it up. I don't have a food processor with me, so I've just chopped it by hand. I've tried to make each little bit pretty even, and this is about how much I tried to evenly chop these into small pieces for this is the one with the Ghirardelli chocolate. So I will be splitting this recipe, and so I have my 2.5, it's hard to see because it's been in the fridge, 2.5 egg whites, no, egg yolks. I have the cream and the liqueur, and then I also have the Hershey's chocolate. So I will get started on heating up the egg yolks and the cream on low heat. All right, so I've just barely added, I'm gonna keep mixing with the fork. It's on low, and it is currently just 72 degrees. The mixture is now, this is what I start to thicken up a little bit. So I will measure the temperature. I've taken it off the heat, and I will add in the butter. And the temperature is 109, 110 degrees. The butter has just barely melted, and the temperature is 95, or almost 90 degrees. Now that the mixture is completely ready with the butter, I will add in the chocolate and the liqueur. And this is what the chocolate is currently looking like with the liqueur in there too. And we are already having some progress. It's been about maybe like a minute and a half, and we're all starting to see some liquid. It's been about 7 minutes, and we're definitely getting somewhere. It's definitely more liquidy, and the temperature is 79 degrees, and it's about just under 15 minutes in, and we are sitting at 79 degrees, and we're definitely, it's been about 20 minutes, and there's still a lot of chocolate. So I will be putting it on super low heat and watching the temperature. And when it starts to barely melt, I'll take it off the heat because it's only 77 right now. It's been just about 5 minutes. We're sitting at 84 degrees, 83, and the chocolate is really starting to melt. We are just under like 7 minutes, and it is 86, 87 degrees, and it is definitely getting there. It is 91 degrees, 90, and that is the melting point of chocolate, so I've taken it off the heat now, and it is quite thick, and I will just keep stirring until it all melts. Pretty much all melted now, and the texture difference is insane, and I will keep stirring this for a minute. Just for reference, it is now 84, 85 degrees, and super thick. After that 1 minute, I will be putting this in the fridge to let it cool off. Seasoning is the process of when chocolate it goes from being really nice and melted to being really hard and not smooth and will not melt. Seizing happens when the particles stick together due to moisture. And this can happen with even just the tiniest amount of moisture. So this seizing can be prevented by adding liquid to the mixture before seizing happens to prevent it. This is because water will moisten all the particles and prevent them from getting stuck. The general rule for the amount of water that prevents chocolate from seizing is 1 tablespoon of water liquid for every 2 ounces of chocolate. And as you've noticed, we added the liquid before the chocolate melted, because this helps to prevent any seizing from happening. If we added it after, it would not guarantee that, or seizing would be much more likely to happen, and yeah, be much more likely to happen. And it also makes sure that the ingredients mixed into the chocolate are not too cold. Cocoa butter melts around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it starts to separate from the chocolate starts to separate from the cocoa butter, and then once it reaches 130, the chocolate becomes really hard and black, and it's burned. So generally, it's best to keep a chocolate mixture below 118, and generally it's stirring constantly while the chocolate is melting helps prevent an even heat, or helps prevent the chocolate from burning. And chopping up the chocolate really finely, or in 1 inch, or chopping up the chocolate really finely helps melt the chocolate evenly, and ensures a smoother chocolate mixture. If one way to reverse the seizing, or to save a chocolate has been seized, is to add water. This will bring the particles back together, the dried up particles back together, and really wets the particles and brings them back together, prevents them from sticking. And now I will be starting on the batch with the Ghirardelli chocolate, and I've just put this on low right there. Right. This on low. I've just put it on low, and I will keep continuing to stir. After just over 5 minutes, it is currently 91 degrees. As you can see, it started to thicken up a little bit. It's not closing so slowly. So now I will add the butter, and I will also take, and it is currently sitting at a 90, 95, 96. It is currently 98 degrees. So now I will add the butter. Also, as I'm adding this butter in, I forgot to mention what kind of butter I'm using, and it's just Good and Gather from Target unsalted butter. So now I will add the chocolate in to stir. This is the chocolate in the liqueur, I forgot to mention that, and I will just keep stirring. Temperature is currently sitting 86 degrees. Just as a reminder, this is the Ghirardelli chocolate. It's been about 10 minutes. It's currently 81 degrees, and it's not melting super cohesively. So I think I will bring it up to on super low heat, and then wait till it gets to 90, and then take it off and keep stirring. It's been about 2 minutes on there. It's already 86, 88 degrees, and it's like definitely a lot meltier. Oh, it's already 90, so I will take it off. About 5 minutes after taking it off the heat, we're sitting at 84 degrees and almost completely melted. Not quite there, but we'll get there. The chocolate is now fully melted, and I will wait to keep stirring for another minute. And this is the consistency we're working with. Pretty good consistency. I will now put this in the fridge and wait for it to get partly firm. Now I'm ready to start rolling the Hershey's batch into the coconut. It was in there for about 37 minutes. I think that was a little bit too long. Actually, it's a pretty good consistency. Just like that. I forgot to do this for the original, for the Hershey's one. For the cooling down, it is 73 degrees, and it's been about 27 minutes. I waited 37 minutes, just like the last time, just for to keep it the same. That is 71 degrees. So still pretty warm for being in the fridge. And now I will roll it up and roll it up in the coconut and put it in this container. This is the Ghirardelli and this is the Hershey's chocolate, and there is a slight difference in color. This one seems to be darker than this one, even though this has dark chocolate. And but as far as like texture, they are the same practically, but there is a big flavor difference. My parents and my brother said that this one was a lot richer and more flavorful, and this one tasted a lot more like milk chocolate. A lot of recipes suggest using a double boiler method to make sure that the chocolate doesn't burn, but the Courier cookbook suggests to not do that because water is really bad for chocolate and will mess up the recipe by seizing the chocolate. And so we want to prevent that, because even just a little tiny drop of steam will damage the integrity of the chocolate. However, if you wanted to use a double broiler method, you could, instead of having the water boil, you could you put the water at 120 degrees Fahrenheit to have a lower heat, and then still make sure that no steam gets into the chocolate. The microwave is also a good option to melt chocolate. It's just important to stop every so often to stir the chocolate to prevent it from burning. The water comes from the cream, the butter, the Grand Marnier, and the egg yolk. 4 tablespoons of cream in total add up to about 3 tablespoons of water. 4 tablespoons of butter, since butter is about 18% water, it yields about 1 tablespoon of water. And we used 4 tablespoons of Grand Marnier, which is about which gives us about 2 tablespoons of water. The 5 egg yolks give us about 3 tablespoons of water. And so all this water content from our other ingredients add up to about 9 tablespoons of water total to prevent the seizing from the 17 ounces, 16 to 17 in the recipe calls for the to prevent seizing from the chocolate. Also, diluting the egg yolks with the cream and then heating them up carefully helped in the risk of salmonella. Overall, I did have a really successful experiment in the sense that the flavor of the Ghirardelli chocolate was much richer and deeper and a more complex flavor profile than the Hershey's, and I was surprised that my parents could tell the difference really right away. The truffles were really smooth, so that was successful. If I were to do it again, I would heat up the egg cream mixture just a little bit more to have the chocolate melt easier, but I was nervous to heat the egg and the creams to too high of a heat, and I didn't want the eggs to curdle, and so I would heat them up a little more to have a warmer mixture for the chocolate. Also, I think that I did it both times, but I think I was a little confused about the recipe, because it says not to put it. It doesn't say to put it back on the heat, but I had to on super low heat. So but the chocolate was not going to melt if I kept it off the heat, so I had to put it back on heat. Some things that I'm interested in experimenting about more are other different types of chocolate. I did Ghirardelli and Hershey's chocolate in this one, but it'd also be interesting to do other, like, even more high quality brands, higher or even to play with the percentage of dark chocolate. I think it would also be interesting to play with adding different types of liquids. I know we used the butter, the cream, but if we used the just milk instead of cream, then I think it would not have as rich of a flavor profile, because it's not offering those fat molecules, and it's also wouldn't be as thick. Be interesting to see how the finely chopped chocolate helps make it melt easier. But if you didn't do that, how? If you had just 1 inch like blocks of chocolate, just like the little squares, of how easy that would melt compared to finely chopped chocolate. I think the finely chopped chocolate would melt much easier and not burn. Oh, and as far as like the other version of this recipe with and without the Grand Marnier or the other types of liqueur, I think that it would one version would be much grainier, and the one without the Grand Marnier would be much grainier and not as smooth, because there's not as much liquid to prevent the seizing. Yeah, overall, I had a successful experiment, and thank you for watching.